TRAVON Smith, the real estate experience. Is always a pleasure for everybody to hang out with us and check us out. Um, and today I'm extremely excited. I've told everybody, I have 13 years of radio experience, so I've seen all the big interviews and listened to all the the screenshots of sound bites and all that stuff. But today I want to do it more from an information perspective. And I seen this her story, and I thought it was so intriguing. And the information that she gets out there for people like myself who are real estate agents or real estate brokers or real estate lending services. And I can't wait to talk to this lady. But without no further ado, it's more Miss Portia Louder. How you doing?
Good, Travon. Thanks for having me today.
No, definitely. Thank you. And all her information and everything you can reach about her is at PortiaLouder.com, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
PortiaLouder.com. So I want to take a little backspin and just find out about you. As far as you as a person, I know you married, kids and stuff like that. I wanted to jump right into it and talk a little bit about what made you get involved in real estate and how that came about.
Yeah. Well, my parents were always buying and selling. Like I
Okay.
would say they were investors. They had regular jobs, but every few years they would level up and get a bigger, nicer home. And so I grew up within that environment. I'm the oldest of their seven children. So I saw my parents were hard workers. I started my own business in my 20s, and it was a photography company. And that business was really growing. I was pretty busy with that. And in Utah in 2004, the real estate market really started to take off.
Mm,
So, about that time, I was building a home to put a new studio in the home just because we had outgrown the home we were in. And so I started investing. I thought, well, I'm going to buy some lots and see if I can't make some money doing real estate. But it turned out to be a little bit more than that.
That's what we'll get into. We can get into it. Once again, it's PortiaLouder.com for everybody to listen to the story because it's an amazing story and I can't wait to talk about it. So at that point, you're doing some investing. 2004 is right before the 2008, recession or whatnot. So continue on.
Yeah. So in 2005, I was introduced to what's called an equity deal. And some of your listeners may know what this is, but if not, you buy a home, you get a very high appraisal on it, and you get a loan and pull as much cash as you can out of the house. And the deal needed to be structured with the joint venture. So I would go to someone who was selling a home and say, we'll pay what you're asking, but we're going to put it in like an LLC or a joint venture, and we're going to have a person come in and buy it for more and get cash back, is basically how it works. And it was a popular way of doing real estate. I hear that people still do it. But at the time, there were billboards saying, use your credit score and get cash back on a house.
Mhm.
So I was involved in a lot of these types of deals. And if I'm being honest, like I could feel it when I started going down that path. I really did feel like this. It just, there was like an excitement to it. And in a way, I felt like, well, I want to get my piece of the action, but there
Mhm.
was also, they were extremely risky because you're borrowing more. You might have a $2 million home on a $2 million loan on a home, and the market has to keep going up for this to work. So you have cash that you invest in something else, and it ended up just being kind of a real estate Ponzi scheme. There were just a bunch of these homes that the cash had been pulled out of. The people that bought them were making payments on them. I had bought a couple, I was making payments on them. And then I heard I was under federal investigation for these types of real estate deals. And
I
yeah,
just want to ask one question. So at that time when you were learning the loan process, was that introduced to you, or that was something you kind of like kind of ran into yourself as far as the loan process and how it works?
no, it was introduced to me.
Okay.
There were investors that were explaining it, showing me how to do it. And then I went to a mortgage broker and he kind of refined it. He's
Mhm.
like, yeah, we can do it this way and it will be even better, like how to tighten it up and make it a more fluid system with banks. And actually, it wouldn't, at that point, the banks were aware of what I was doing. The
Mhm.
appraisers had to be on it. The mortgage brokers were everybody was in on it. And I felt like there wasn't really a victim if the bank was aware of it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what the FBI said. They said even if the bank didn't lose money, in their opinion, it was set up fraudulently, and so it was a fraud. That's what they said.
Okay. Okay, so we could lead into that, talk a little bit about how it led into fraudulency and maybe some of the charges that what you were going about and had to fight. And maybe was it unfair, because you was the only one left hanging to dry. So,
Well, I had to really work through this. At the
okay.
time, I was very frustrated because, again, if your listeners have watched The Big Short, there was a great big thing going on. There were people that were a lot higher up than me in banking that were making a lot of money on these, and I couldn't understand why the government wasn't interested in going after them. It would have been impossible to do these deals without those banks and the way
Mhm,
they were doing things. But the government had made a decision in the 2008 crash to bail the banks out. And so they weren't interested in charging the banks. So that was hard for me. That was really hard for me because I felt like they were a conspirator in the whole situation. So fair or unfair, I was a guilty party according to the government, and and I believe that I was. I believe that there was uh, basically a conspiracy between me, the banks, the appraisers, everybody,
mhm,
um, to beef up values on homes and borrow more money than they were worth. And when the market crashed, those homes, a lot of them went into foreclosure, and it affected American people. It affected people that lived in those neighborhoods. And so I absolutely believe that I'm guilty. I think there were other people guilty, but at the end of the day, there could be 5 people speeding on the freeway and only one of you get caught. You just can't focus on what other
mhm.
people did or didn't do. And that took me time to get to, but I got there. So,
Definitely, it would take time to get through that healing process, especially when the system. Well, we all know how the system works. If they're bailing the banks out, hey, they're bailing the banks out.
yeah,
They're
banks are walking and you're going to prison. And when I'm sitting in prison, in federal prison, away from my family, I was in Minnesota when I started processing this, and my family's in Utah. So they're broke. I'm seeing them once a year, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, it was difficult, but it was freedom for me when I just owned my part
yeah.
and,
I want
processed.
to I want to talk a little bit about the fortunate prison process of going, and like you just touched on a little bit, just the mentality of like feeling like you've been your back's been, everybody's turned around, turned
Right.
turned against you, including the banks and people you work with. We all know we go to work with people and we hear the slogan, "Those people at the job are not your friends." And I'm pretty sure you got an in depth look at that. But we just talk a little bit about that process of maybe the charges and going through the process.
Yeah, yeah, that was really painful for me. When you're under federal investigation, the FBI is going to go talk to everyone you know, your family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, anyone. That's just kind of how. And I was under investigation for a long time because I fought it because
Mm,
of the things that we've already discussed, where I thought that the banks were complicit, and they were saying the banks were victims, and I was like, no, they aren't. And so that was a really painful process for me. I started hearing that people that I knew in the industry who were also guilty were kind of saying things about me. And I'm like, hey, we're all in on this together. So you find out you pretty much walk alone when it comes to a federal investigation. Everybody gets scared when the FBI shows up and they're going to say what they're going to say. But again, like when I finally got to prison and I was able to look at my own part in that,
mm,
it was very freeing for me. And, you know, prison was a life changing experience. I got there, I felt like I had been done dirty. I started connecting with other people that had it a lot worse than me.
mm.
Really, there's a lot of people locked up that are doing years and years that come from poorer communities. I mean, I was really privileged in so many ways. And once I realized that, I was like, I need to turn around and serve people. And it changed my life for the better. And when I got home and I started talking to some of those same people that were still engaged in some of those types of real estate deals, I realized how fortunate I was because my life had changed and a lot of them were still trying to hustle in different ways.
Mhm.
I was not interested at all. I thought, oh my goodness, my whole integrity and view of life has changed. And I'm so fortunate that I got that opportunity to see what really matters. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Definitely. I just want to go back just a little bit on when it's time to get released, and what was the mental process of like, because I know a lot of anxiety, of course, was in the beginning when you're going to prison, but there's as much anxiety when you're about to get released. Because what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? What is everybody going to think about me? What is people going to say about me? Talk a little bit about that process, and how did you transition with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really painful to go there and to
Okay.
acclimate, and then it's really scary to come home.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't know what my life would look like at all. I had to take it very slow. I have a lot of I go back into prisons now and work with people, and they're all nervous. Like, are people gonna see us bad? Are they not gonna give us a chance? And I didn't focus on that. I made a decision while I was locked up to believe that the world would cheer me on, that they wanted me to succeed. And when I got home, I started also I came out humble. Like, I was willing to take any job I could get. I started out at 13 bucks an hour and just did my very best. And I tell people who are locked up, I'm like, show up. Give, you're all hard workers. Do your, if you work on your integrity while you're locked up and you go out there and you keep your word, people opportunities will open for you. And that's happened for me. Like, it really has. I've been home almost 6 years and I've had so many opportunities. I've also chose to claim my life. Like, I'm not going to hide from it.
Mm.
And that's been a powerful moment for me, not to have to fear that. But it's intimidating and overwhelming to come home from prison. There's some benefits of prison. If you consider 5 years without a cell phone, you really
Mhm.
get a reset. I read a lot. I walked a lot. I was quite healthy when I was in prison. I'm
Mhm.
too busy now. We're
Yeah.
very busy out here. So I'm grateful that I got the time, but it was scary and overwhelming to come home for sure. So.
Definitely. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to Portia Louder. We're telling her story. You can get more information, PortiaLouder.com. I want to talk a little bit about some advice you would give to people in the mortgage industry as of today. 2025 is a little bit different than 2000, 8, 2004. What's
Right.
some advice that you would give to these people, even though there's a little bit more rules and they're making sure they're checked on a little bit more, but what's some advice? So agent doesn't get caught up in that, or a brokerage, or just some words of advice.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I'm the best person to give that advice.
Mm.
I am very cautious at this point in my life. Like, at that point in time, I was looking for the loophole. I was looking for the hustle. And I would just say, like, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Put in the work, trust the process, and there's nothing worth giving up your integrity. Like, that's an invaluable thing that you hold. The way you treat people and is going to last forever. That deal, I guess I just don't think that money and the hustle are as important as I used to. Like, I could see that who you are is a lot more than your title or the deal you close. Like, you have the ability to really make a difference on this earth, and real estate's just one part.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was very obsessed in it, and I don't do any of it now. I don't even own a home now. I mean, I'm very cautious. I save my money, and I'm trying to decide what decision I want to make next. But yeah, just trust the process and trust yourself and your gut when you're going down that path. So
Definitely. So do you have the book out, correct?
yeah, yeah. I my
Let's
book.
talk, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the book, where people can get it from, and what I know they'll hear the story in there, but what's some things that we didn't talk about that might be in there?
Yeah, so I have actually written 2 books, and I'm probably gonna write a 3rd that's gonna be a lot more focused on the fraud and the
Mm.
real estate that time. My first book is Living Louder, and it was about my like, the prison journey. Born to Be Brave was 2nd book when I got home from prison. And then I'm just getting ready to write the next one, which is more about the fraud. But they can find me at portialouder.com or on Amazon. And I think that it's the story isn't just about me. Like, Living Louder is about everyone I met on that journey and what I learned from those people in prison, and how, as painful as it was, like, there was also beautiful moments and tender moments, and it changed the way I saw everything and the way I see people. And that's so valuable to me. So that it's a journey of transformation that I think anyone can benefit from. So
And before we let you go, do you think the books are like part of your psychology therapy, psychological therapy, where you're getting over? It's some things where you got to write some information. Is it part of the healing process?
absolutely. Yeah. I say that I write when I feel this deep need, when I feel so full that it has to come out. And I feel like it's been very therapeutic, and it helps me remember where I've been. So when people ask, well, were you afraid when you wrote your book that people wouldn't like it? I said, I wrote a book that I liked. I
Hmm.
I wrote that book for me, and if people liked it, that was a benefit, and they have. They have, and it's available for free in prisons across the country. So if you have a family member that's locked up, have them look up Living Louder or Portia Louder, and I'm on tablets. And so there's been so much meaning that's come from that very hard experience, and I would hope your listeners would know whatever hard they're going through, if they're in the middle, there's beauty on the other side of that for sure. So
But I do think you have a special message, and I do. I don't think you have to worry about anybody not liking the book, especially when you've been in a situation where you've been to prison and people have turned your back on you. So, I mean, the worst of the worst has pretty much happened in life. Not life, but there's a journey in it, and sometimes there's blessings that come out of it. So, I appreciate you definitely sharing your story with us. I wish you grace and success, and continue watching you and supporting you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can get all this information, the books. There's 2 books out now. There'll be one coming, PortiaLouder.com. Go support this lady and read her books and understand what's going on, what happened in the real estate market, and what you could do, to prevent some of these situations if you can or whatnot. But Miss Portia, I appreciate you for hanging out with us, and thank you so much.
thank you, friend. Take care. Have a great day.
You too.